Charmander is the best starter Pokemon of all time, and I have 10 reasons to tell you why. Number 10, it's the cover of the best Pokemon game ever. So let's talk about Charizard for a sec, right? I'm not going to stick too long here because, there's not a list for Charizard. We all know Charizard's the best. We're talking about Charmander, but let's talk about Charizard really quick for a sec and talk about how it's on the best Pokemon game ever. And before you jump and call me a Gen 1er, you are correct. And it's the best Pokemon game ever. So you can come and you can fight me. Number 9, it's Black Shiny. So we all know from experience, finding shiny Pokemon is great. We all say let's go and put our emotes in the chat whenever we get a brand new shiny. But there's nothing quite like getting a shiny Charizard, because Charizard is so cool to begin with, but then you get a black one, and then everyone's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's just sit back and just appreciate Black Shiny Charizard for 1 sec. Okay, let's just look at. Ooh. Oh snap. So cool. Yo. Here's a regular one. And here's Black Shiny. Oh yeah. Oh, that's the stuff. That is the stuff. Number 8, Charizard in the anime. So you remember how I said that we're gonna focus on Charmander? Incorrect. Charizard in the anime is amazing because he literally just, and I'm not talking. Okay, hold on. I'm not talking about the little pansy Charizard that we have today. I'm talking about sassy Charizard that just did not want anything to do with Ash, because that Charizard is the antithesis of how we all feel about Ash. So just the idea of him calling out Charizard and Charizard just shooting fire in his face every single time is something that just gives me so much joy and so much happiness. So I just cannot even begin to describe how happy I was. Like, come on, whenever somebody says, oh, there's a new anime out you want to watch, aren't you literally that Charizard who's scratching his belly, like, on the field with the Bellsprout out? Like, yo, like, come on, like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your ad. Number 7, the sad Charmander anime arc. Alright, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grab your tissues, because we're getting sad down here. So, this arc was incredibly sad and made Charmander one of the most beloved Pokemon in the entire game, let alone the most beloved starter Pokemon. But let's talk about this arc, alright? For those of you that did not watch the original anime, after I just trashed it in the last one, in the last number, Ash and friends encounter a Charmander on the road waiting for his trainer, who abandoned him. Charmander doesn't realize that his trainer abandoned him, so he waits on the rock day and night without moving for his trainer to come back in the middle of a rainstorm, holding a leaf over his little tail so the flame doesn't go. Come here, Charmander. Oh. Number 6, it's a design helping Pokemon. So you have to think about it like this, right? When Pokemon first came out, right, in 1996, Pokemon came out and they needed the mass draw. They needed the mass appeal. They had Pikachu, right, which had the perfect amount of cool and cute to become the mascot, right? But they needed something badass. They needed an ass kicker. They needed something great that would make people go, oh my god. And they had Blastoise. No, I'm just kidding. They had Charizard. Charizard was the guy, right? Charizard was the main sell. That's why Pokemon Red sold more than Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Green put together. Pokemon Red is because of Charizard, and literally no other reason, the most successful Pokemon game of all time. So, when you think about it like that, Charizard's design is almost as important as in helping Pokemon grow as Pikachu's design. So, in that essence, yes, it is the best starter Pokemon of all time. So, fight me, once again. And number 5, the conspiracy about it being banned for 5 generations of Pokemon. So, Charizard, as you know, is an amazing competitive Pokemon. It's used all the time, but for whatever reason, I couldn't seem to find any information on it being used from the 1st through the 5th generation. And this really confused me because Charizard is so good competitively. I just didn't quite understand why I couldn't find any information on anybody using it competitively. So I've come to the conclusion that Charizard's stuff has been either banned and nobody talks about it because he was so good, or someone deliberately removed that information because they didn't want people to know how good Charizard was in the first 5 generations of Pokemon. So I'm very confused about this. I'm still looking into it, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm still on the hunt looking for Charizard's competitive stats from the first 5 generations because I know he was used. I know he was great. He's always great. Okay? He's always great. So I need to find this stuff. Number 4, Charmander sabotaged the Academy Awards. So if you didn't know this, Charmander was an executive producer on La La Land and did not quite like Moonlight as a movie. So when he went up to present the best film at the Oscars this year, he sabotaged the envelope and made it La La Land, even though it was supposed to be Moonlight. It was a whole thing, and then they switched the envelopes back after La La Land got up there because somebody had to replace the envelopes. It was probably someone in the Embor Illuminati, for all I know. But all I'm saying is Charmander tried his best to make sure his film won, and it just didn't work out for him. It's really sad, so make sure you go up to Charmander and tell him that you're sorry. Number 3, the Fire Tail. So we talked about this a little bit in the Charmander Said Anime Arco. But you see, Charmander's Fire Tail is amazing. It was such an important design piece and just a really cool essence of the Pokemon that ended up becoming recopied and reused for other Pokemon like Magmar and reimagined for Pokemon like Cyndaquil. And like its back of the fire, like just the idea of the Fire Tail was such a unique and interesting design piece that I had to make it its own point on the list this high up, just because it's such an integral part of that Pokemon. If it didn't have the Fire Tail, would it be a Charmander? Good question. Number 2, it has 2 Mega Evolutions. The Pokemon's so nice, it gave it Mega Evolutions twice. So let's talk about this. So for those of you that were not into the internet Pokemon scene when X and Y was being announced, it kind of went like this, right? We were all sitting there playing Black 2 and White 2, right? We were all just sitting there. And then all of a sudden Pokemon goes, new games. And we're all like, oh my god. And then we were all like, is it the Ruby and Sapphire remakes? And they were like, no. And then everyone was like, oh. And I was like, yay, because Ruby and Sapphire suck. And then anyway, besides my unpopular opinions, then they announced it's X and Y. And everyone was like, letters, huh? Okay. So then we were all just sitting there waiting for news on the letter game. And then we get this thing called Sylveon. Although we had no name for it yet. It was called Nymphia, and we were all like, what the hell is that? And then Dookie Shed correctly predicted it to be Fairy type, and they introduced Fairy type, and everyone screamed. And then they introduced Mega Evolution, which completely threw everybody for a loop. I had no clue how to react to this, but they announced it by showing Mewtwo, Mega Mewtwo Y. And everybody, including myself, thought that this was going to be Mew 3. But instead, it turned out to be Mega Evolution. And I believe they introduced this with Pokemon like... They introduced it originally with like Lucario and Mawile. There was like 4. None of them were the starters. And then, in like 2 months from then, they showed starters. They showed Mega Charizard Y, Mega Blastoise, and Mega Venusaur. And then everyone was like, oh, cool, and they're changing typings, so maybe they'll finally give Charizard the Dragon type it deserves. And no. Instead, we got Mega Charizard Y, which, in my opinion, is infinitely cooler, just from a competitive standpoint. From a design standpoint, I mean, whatever. But from a competitive standpoint, I prefer Mega Charizard Y, but that's just my opinion. So, we get Mega Charizard Y, and everyone's like, oh, it's still fire and flying, where's the dragon? And then we finally get Mega Charizard X from the Pokemon Origin anime thing that they did, where Mega Charizard X was introduced. And it was a whole thing, and we got our Fire Dragon type, and it's about time. And number 1, if you have a problem with Charizard, if you're seriously just sitting there like triggered by this whole thing, right? Just like fuming, upset that Charizard's the best starter Pokemon ever. Well, that sounds like a personal problem, because between you and me, I have a little secret. Charmander is the best starter Pokemon of all time. It's the most successful, it is the strongest, it is the most popular, it is the best. And if you have a problem with that, then maybe you should focus on why your starter Pokemon is not the best starter Pokemon of all time. Or maybe you should just watch the rest of my videos. I don't know. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed, definitely consider hitting the thumbs up. If you have another reason why Charmander is your favorite starter Pokemon of all time, if you want to comment Stealth Rocks down in the comment section, be sure to do that. And be sure to subscribe for more content like this if you are interested. This is a bit of a thank you for my 1,000 subscribers for uploading Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle all in the same week. So Bulbasaur will be next, if you couldn't guess. So thank you so much once again. And if you do have your favorite starter Pokemon that is not Charmander, I made a video like this about it. You could find the link in the description to the playlist, and you could watch it on any starter Pokemon, a video like this, and you can see me praise that Pokemon as well. So thank you guys again. I really appreciate all the love that you've given this series and my channel, especially over this series. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.